Well, turning now to Hurricane Katrina. And while Las Vegas wasn't in the path, we did experience the indirect effects of this disaster. 20 years ago, our city became a temporary haven for some evacuees. UNLV offered assistance to those displaced, and Channel 13 partnered with the American Red Cross. And our viewers and local celebrities stepped up, raising big money for disaster relief. And I spoke with my former co-anchor, Dave Courvoisier, who was sent from his station at the time to the front lines to cover Katrina for an entire week. And he tells me the images of the devastation have stayed with him 20 years later. What really moved you about your experience covering Katrina?
It's the total devastation. In Katrina, the hurricane just flattened New Orleans, which is a little, just barely below sea level. You know, there's not much of the land that's above sea level. So it got plastered, and the entire residential area was underwater still by the time I got there. You had to have a boat to be able to go down the streets to the neighborhoods. And you'd boat past the houses. If they had a big white X on the front door, that meant that authorities had checked the house and there was no one inside. Some houses didn't have a white X, so ostensibly that would mean somebody's still inside or on the roof, or there might be a pet inside. And they had separate rescue operations for stranded pets or for wandering pets that had lost their way. It's just the smell was also incredible. You could just smell the wasting away, the mold. A lot of it was just not clean. The National Guard would make sure that you were decontaminated before you went back, into your room or to your companions to work with. And so you'd go in and you'd pretty much strip down to your skivvies, and they'd spray you and then shower you, and then you could put your clothes back on. That was what got to me the most, was the sight of the destruction, the smell. It was pretty much an empty city because a lot of people just left.
Las Vegas saw a large influx of refugees, basically, from Katrina.
I remember that too. In fact, a lot of those refugees from Katrina stayed in Las Vegas and other cities, and that's why we have such great Cajun cooking in Las Vegas these days, and other cities too, because they found the place to be a good place to live. It was a nice place to work.
Were you surprised by the fact that all the local stations in Las Vegas covered Katrina the way we did?
It was a major event in the United States that hasn't really been surpassed in many ways. And so it didn't surprise me that not only the networks, but all the local Las Vegas stations were there, because they're two big cities and there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of people related between the two cities. And it was a big story. It's just a huge story.
Sure was. And Dave also remembers the looting that was happening in the wake of the hurricane and those forced into the Superdome. He says even 20 years later, the city of New Orleans' population never has fully rebounded.